Immigration in the age of exclusion, a historical and moral reckoning. The story of immigration has always been intertwined with the story of human survival, hope and dignity. Yet, over centuries it has also become a story of conquest, displacement and exclusion. The arrival of Christopher Columbus in the Americas in 1492 marked not the discovery of a new world but the beginning of one of history's darkest chapters, the genocide and cultural erasure of indigenous peoples. If Columbus had not landed in the Bahamas, the Arawaks and other native civilizations might have continued to thrive with their own democratic systems, languages and knowledge. The Iroquois Confederacy, for example, had developed a political system that later inspired aspects of the U.S. Constitution, a fact often ignored in mainstream history. But instead of flourishing, these vibrant societies were destroyed under the banners of gold, God and empire. From colonial expansion in the Americas and Africa to apartheid in South Africa, migration was not merely about movement, it was about domination. Settler colonialism thrived by forcibly displacing native populations and enslaving others. Ironically, nations like the United States, built on the suffering of indigenous and enslaved people, now close their borders to refugees and migrants fleeing wars, poverty, and climate disasters, many of which stem from global inequalities rooted in colonialism. This hypocrisy was starkly visible during the Trump administration, which turned immigration into a toxic battlefield of nationalism and fear. Policies such as the border wall, family separations, and the Muslim ban were not just administrative actions, they were ideological statements. They redefined immigrants as threats, not humans, as burdens, not contributors. The essay also exposes America's selective historical memory, how the military once used Geronimo, the name of a leader who fought colonization, as a code word in its mission to kill Osama bin Laden. This reflected deep historical amnesia, the inability to distinguish between resistance to oppression and terrorism. What we see today is a moral paradox. Nations built through violent migration and colonization are now denying refuge to those seeking survival. History remembers Columbus as a hero but labels modern migrants as intruders. This selective remembering keeps racism and exclusion alive. To truly rethink immigration, the world must confront this uncomfortable truth that today's refugee crisis and border conflicts are the direct outcomes of centuries of imperialism and exploitation. Migration must not be seen as a privilege but as a human right, a natural response to the search for safety, dignity, and opportunity. Imagining a world where Columbus never landed is not fantasy, it is a way to question the foundations of injustice that continue to define our modern world. A humane immigration policy must begin with historical reckoning, acknowledging that justice for the displaced begins by remembering the displaced of the past. Only then can humanity move from exclusion to empathy, from borders to belonging.